Thank you so much. Wacha tuanze na apology. We are really, really, really sorry. We've missed a couple of sessions. Like every other normal adult, we've not found a balance, but that notwithstanding, I think we ought to do better, and we promise to be doing that going forth. So poleni sana, forgive us, we'll do better. We are back. This past week, I attended some radio program and someone asked me, what has been your highlight for the week? I just mentioned other irrelevant things. And I forgot to mention one very relevant and important thing. Through the week, something has been happening about governors' accountability. And we've noted the Public Accounts Committee had a sitting and they highlighted various expenditures from the different counties. And you could see the counties are taking money. Some of them are taking it and then they're buying semen for wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
That's Kenya for you. Others are taking a significant portion. They're building palatial home for the speakers, for the governor. That is Kenya for you. And it's just to point on some of the areas that are not working as expected. And we are here to also highlight more areas that are not working as expected. And again, you as disciples speak on it so that you can pass the message and hold your governors and MCAs to account. So again, welcome to this episode. It's fueled by what has happened this week, but this is what we've been working on. So keep with us. Today I am with Bonnie, and even as I invite you, Bonnie, to introduce yourself, I'm going to just ask one question before we delve into what we're going to talk about. What is your overall view on devolution in terms of the successes compared with what it was intended to do when it was established under the Constitution?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. Let me introduce myself first. So my name is Boni Mwangi. I'm a US-based Kenyan economist and certified public accountant. I love to spend a lot of my time looking at what's happening with our finances in Kenya because I believe that we are missing accountability. And so I've devoted my life over the last couple of years to that. And I believe that we need to spend more time holding our leaders accountable. And, I'm making my little contribution by doing these discussions with you. The question about my overall take on the status of devolution, I think that devolution was well intended. I think that when you go back and you think about the entire point of devolution was to make sure that people have access to accountability, they have access to services, they have access to development, and they don't have to beg politicians in central government to be able to do those things. That was it. Nobody's going to argue with that, right? The point that most people are missing when we spend time talking about devolution is that we are not spending a lot of time talking about devolution because we don't like it or because we are opposed to it.
Yes.
I want devolution to succeed, but I know that for devolution to succeed, we have to go back and ask ourselves if we had objectives for devolution. We need to ask ourselves whether or not we are actually achieving those objectives.
Yes.
Again, it's about providing services to citizens, it's about bringing development, and it's about making sure that a citizen sitting in his yellow can question his representative and ask them, why is it that I don't have a functioning hospital? Why is it that I don't have a road that's tarmacked, right? So I spend as much time as I do on these matters because I know that today there's no question about whether or not devolution is succeeding. Devolution is not succeeding. Our system of government has been perverted. And it has become a tool for extraction.
Yeah.
And I say that because when you look at what we're spending money on, and we're gonna go into this as we talk, but you take a look at the last 11 years, our countries have received 3.6 trillion.
Yes.
In 11 years of devolution, 3.6 trillion. And when you look at the counties, we have an average poverty rate of 44%.
Yes.
You go and take a look at a place like Mandera, it's got I believe, a 73% poverty rate.
Yes.
This is despite over 100 billion in money sent there. You look at a place like Turkana, 80% poverty rate, 83% poverty rate. That rate was 82% 11 years ago, before 129 billion have
Devolution,
been sent
yes.
there. So if I mean, we have to ask ourselves, why is it that we are spending so much money and we're not making progress? And
Yes.
that's a discussion I'm trying to spark by
Mhm.
having this debates.
I agree with you. Agree
Yeah,
with you. And the best example is that Mandera poverty rate that
right,
you start at a lesser number, and for
right,
some miraculous reason you progress to a higher number. Of course, we
right,
don't expect devolution to be the solution to everything, but
right,
surely, what was your play in this whole equation? What did you make better? What did you do better?
right,
Um,
right.
and it's important to question that. Um, and I'm just going to highlight the areas that we are going to focus on. We are going to look
Mm-hmm,
across different counties. We've picked extremities in the different counties, and the
mm-hmm,
topics that are of concern to us are: one, why is there excessive spending
mm-hmm.
on salaries and remuneration in county government? So while we speak through it, you will realize different counties have
Yeah,
a budget of, let's say, even 5 billion. Some of them have,
yeah,
Nairobi has something like 33 billion. And
right.
then you realize a significant portion of that amount
Mm-hmm,
is being spent on
yeah,
salaries and remuneration. So you'll ask yourself, so did we have devolution so that we
mm-hmm,
can pay only a certain number of people? That is one area
yeah,
to look at. The second area we are going to look at, you will think that they've paid themselves that much salary, then it's enough. No, it's not.
yeah,
Then they organize foreign and local trips
yeah,
for themselves. I mean,
right,
training is a good thing, capacity development is a good thing. But then again,
yeah,
how much money are you spending on capacity development?
right,
Because
right,
some counties are even spending more than what they put in bursary. Some
yeah,
counties are actually putting money on capacity and development in millions and zero
yeah,
in
yeah,
bursary. So
right,
that is another area that we are going to look at. And
yeah,
then the other area we are going to look at is just doing a comparative analysis in terms of, okay, your MCA is earning this much money.
right, yeah,
Which is that compared to what the
mm-hmm,
average citizen in that county is earning? I think it's important for us to look at that number so that you
right,
can see.
mm-hmm,
Usisimame huko unasikia gavana wako amefukuzwa Senate ati
yeah,
piga nduru, na huyo gavana wako analipwa maybe even
right,
22% more than what you earn if you're
right,
at all
yeah,
earning at all. So that is the other topic that we are going to look at. And then finally, we are going to look at, so the county decides they want to spend 5 billion in
mm-hmm,
salaries. How
mm-hmm,
much are they raising as revenue in that
right,
county? They might
yeah,
decide to spend 5 billion and then tunakuja kurealize, imagine that whole county is
yeah,
raised 40 million.
right,
Unajiuliza, where did you get the guts to draw a budget that is
yeah,
5 billion and
right,
spend on your salaries na nyinyi wenyewe mna raise 40 million? It's an
yeah,
important discussion. I will tell you more why, but those are
yeah,
the areas that we are going to touch on. So Bonnie, welcome. The first areas I indicated that we are going to speak about is the salary crisis in county.
mm-hmm,
And
yeah,
basically, in summary, the law stipulates that every county is supposed to spend a maximum of 35%
mm-hmm,
uh, in paying salaries.
right,
Most counties, the average amongst all the counties is about 47, but most
mm-hmm,
counties have gone as high as even 60%, like Machakos,
right,
as you'll speak on the figures. And
right,
my concern around that is that when these people take this money and put on themselves, then they are
mm-hmm,
the public what would have rightfully benefited them in terms
right,
of projects, in terms of
yeah,
development, even in
yeah,
terms of employment from the
mm-hmm,
projects that they are going to work on. Bonnie, highlighting numbers, would you just speak through this issue?
yeah. So great question. Let me start off by just giving an overview of where things stand when it
Yes.
comes to um, our fiscal situation as a country, right? So we are a country that has a lot of debt. I think most Kenyans now understand that we are sitting on a lot of debt.
Mm.
We owe at least 12 trillion as of today.
Yes.
Um, when Kibaki left office, he left us with about 2 trillion in debt, and it took 50 years from 1963 to 2013 for us to accumulate 2 trillion worth of debt. That debt went up from 2 trillion. when Uhuru Kenyatta became
Okay.
president.
Yes.
He left when it was 8.6.
Yes.
We are at 12, I think 12.3 right now, and
Yes.
it's going up. Every single year, we are adding about 2 trillion worth of debt now, right?
Yes.
So that is to tell you that all the stuff that we're going to talk about at the county level. Um, and the reason why I'm starting by giving this overview is I want Kenyans to understand that the money that's going to the county government is actually borrowed.
Yes.
100% of every single shilling spent at the
Yes.
county
Correct.
is borrowed because we are a country that's spending 4 trillion every year or more, and we cannot raise more than 2.5. So every single shilling we are sending the county government is borrowed.
Yes.
And so what that means is that we need to treat that shilling as though it was the last shilling that we have,
Yes.
right? So I wanted to start off by saying that.
Okay.
Um, the second point I want to make is about um, this, is about, I think, the economic viability of our
Yes.
structural government. In 2024, 2025, our county government spent 583 billion. Okay. Out of that money, they were only able to raise 43 billion on their own.
Yes.
Okay. So they're spending 533 billion. They can only raise 43
It's
billion.
pretty.
That is only 5.9%. So the average county in Kenya in 2024, 2025 needed 96% of their budget to come from outside the
Yes.
county. Sorry, 94%.
Yes.
And so when you hear that, right, that's the average county, right?
Yes.
There are counties, in fact, 24 counties cannot raise more than 3% of their budget.
Wow.
14 counties cannot raise more than 2% of their budgets 10 years, 11 years into devolution.
Wow.
So, in my view, the first question Kenyans need to ask ourselves is, where is this structure of government headed, right? Because if you had 11 years to try something and it has not worked, and you have 24 counties that cannot raise more than 3% of their budget, and you have 14 counties that cannot raise more than 2% of their budget. Close your eyes and imagine we're in 2035, 2036. The only thing that's going to change is zeros, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about 12 trillion right now. I can guarantee you, if we don't do something about this, we're going to wake up and we're going to be sitting on 40 trillion worth of debt
Yes.
because the structure of government that we have is not sustainable. It is so big and it's so expensive, and we don't have mechanisms to instill and enforce discipline.
That is true.
Right. So the issue that we're starting with is talk about the what I call the salary burden, right? So we
Yes.
have a law in our country, the Public Finance Management Law of 2015, which tells county governments that you cannot spend more than 35% of your budget on salaries. And the idea there, and it's one of the most frustrating things for me because this is supposed to be a very simple concept.
Yes.
The entire point of government is to serve citizens. So the
Yes.
law is there to say to you, you know that the point of government is to serve people.
Yes.
We're going to force you to remember that.
Yes.
And the way we're going to force you to remember that is we're going to put a law that says that do not spend more than 35% of your revenue on yourself because
Understood.
we want to make sure that this money gets to people. This money builds hospitals, it
Yeah.
equips hospitals, it hires doctors and nurses,
Yes.
it facilitates kids, opportunity to get a decent education. That's the entire point of government. When you look at what's happening today, it is the total opposite of devolution. In 2024, 2025, the average county spent 47% of every single shilling on salaries for people in government. There is no county that employs more than 1% of people. I've
No.
looked at all these counties. The average county employs 1%. Some counties employ 0.3%, like Nairobi, like Machakos, 0.6%, but the average county employs about 1%.
Mm.
So when a county is spending 47% of its revenue on 1% of the population, you are losing a huge chunk of money that is designed to go and achieve the objectives of devolution, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you lose 47% of every single shilling on salary, and we haven't talked about benefits,
Yes.
we have not talked about all these trips. What
Yes.
happens is that by the time you're done looking at where the money went, 70%, 75% of the money disappears in the system.
Yes.
And that's why Kenyans can hear all this talk about the amount of debt that we have, but they don't feel it because the money went there and was spent on 1% of the population.
The population.
And we are the ones paying the price because when you go into a county hospital, there is no equipment. Some people
Mm.
are being forced to go out and buy medication or
Yeah.
spend, share a bed with a stranger. It's insanity, right?
Mm.
And by the way, that 35% maximum under the law is very generous.
Yes.
You've heard me talk about, for example, the example of the state of Texas that's
Yes.
spending
Yes. Yeah.
18% of its money
Mm.
on salaries and benefits.
Yes.
And you look in the private sector, it's the same thing. Companies in the private sector have an incentive to hire the best people to pay them the most amount of money. I work in a consulting firm, and um, my employer wants to make sure that they get the best talent. And I can tell you that they try to beat each other when it comes to retaining talent, but they still recognize you can't spend everything on salaries.
Every on
So
salaries.
exactly. So if a private sector company can spend 25%, because they know that there's more to life than just paying bills, why is it that we've allowed a county government to spend 60%? I mean, that 47% that I talked about is the average. There are counties such as
But
Machakos that is spending 60%. Machakos employs about 0.6% of the people in that county government,
yes,
spending 60% of the money on salaries.
on
Okay.
salary. Mm.
Nairobi County is another one. Um, Last year, Nairobi County spent 55% of revenue on salaries. The year before that, it was also 55%, right?
Mm.
So in just 3 years, Nairobi County has managed to steal 14.8 billion from citizens. Because I say steal because if you have someone who's not trying to take advantage of their position, you have someone who believes that the objective of government is serve people, they're gonna say, look, we're not going to spend 55% because when we do that, it means that we're not going to have money to collect garbage. We're not gonna have money to fix drainage, right?
Yeah.
When money ends up in the pockets of people that are already doing so well, because
Mm.
people who work for, if you're working in the county government, you have security of jobs, you have, oftentimes these salaries are already high enough, and then the benefits
They built
are
for
vastly.
you a house,
Yes,
build houses. They
yes.
give them mileage to go to the
My,
office. They're given
yes,
sleeping allowances.
exactly. So the people that work for the government are already doing so well. Look, I spend time talking about this not because I don't want people to earn a living. I think that we should all aspire to make as much money as you can. But what you cannot do is you cannot try to do that on the back of people making 20,000, right?
That
It
is
just doesn't work like that.
that is
So go out to a consulting firm, get as much money as you want, right? Go start your own business. Nobody's gonna limit how much you can make, but you cannot do that on the backs of people making 20,000. So
yeah.
the issue of compensation is central to any discussion around the effectiveness of government. In 3 years since 2022 to 2025, county governments have stolen 131 billion, 131 billion in just 3 years from citizens.
Wow.
Ask yourself how many level 5 hospitals we will
Could
have
have
had
been.
in 3 years. Ask yourself how many schools could be built. Ask yourself how many miles or kilometers of roads
Could have.
um, could be fixed. My county of Kiambu in 3 years has stolen 5.5 billion.
Wow.
Okay, 5.5 billion,
Wow.
like that, right? And again, this is totally unavoidable, right? Because we have a law that says that don't spend more than 35%, just so that we can make sure that money is reaching people, right? I don't understand how anybody can go into a government office. You're the governor and you spend 60% of the money on yourself.
And
At what
even
point?
as you speak on that, as you
Yeah.
highlight the numbers, there are two areas that I think people are so hung up on, and I think
Hmm.
hawamalizi kufikiria wakifika hapo. There are
Yeah.
2 points. People will say, what is
Hmm.
wrong with the county government
Yeah.
employing more people? That is
Yeah.
one thing. And
Yeah.
then the second thing, what a comment, you remember there's a post we did a while back and someone
Yeah.
commented that do we understand how hard it is to fire permanent people if they are going to
Yeah.
pay that wage bill? Would you touch on those 2 points and before
Yeah.
we move on to the next topic?
So the first point I want to make sure is I'm not here debating the numbers, how many people
Yes.
you're employing. What I'm saying is that if you're going to be in government,
Mm.
can we all agree that the point and purpose of government is to serve people? Can we
Yes.
start there? The point of a government is to serve people.
Yes.
So the best way to evaluate whether or not government is serving people is to ask how much of the resources
Yes.
that were available to it actually went to serve people.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we need to focus on. I'm not saying don't hire 1 million people. I'm saying we as leaders, right, we need to make sure that we do not forget why we're in government to begin with. You cannot go and spend 80% of the money on yourself and act like you're serving anybody.
Yes.
It just doesn't work like that. So that's
Yes.
number one, is that the purpose and point of a government is serve people.
It's
And
to serve
that's
people.
the only way to evaluate whether or not government is succeeding is to ask how much of the resources actually went to build a hospital,
Yes.
to build a road, right? To make life easier for the citizen.
Yes.
Number two, I would say that when you say that it's hard to fire people, I would say that this is part of the problem, is that we have people that are not creative. We want people that are going to solve problems.
Yes.
What is the point of you becoming governor? And then you
Yes.
start saying that it's difficult to make changes. Leadership is all about solving problems. And
Yes.
if I become governor, I'm becoming governor because I can look at a situation and say we have a lot of issues. We have the money, but we are
Mhm.
not able to actually effectively serve people. Why is it that we are failing, right?
Yes.
And nobody's talking about forcing people to take a pay cut. I'm just saying that if I become governor, for example, I want to make sure that people's compensation is fair and
Mm.
reasonable, right?
Yes.
Um, I want to make sure that we serve people in an efficient way,
Yes.
right? I want to make sure that we don't waste money. There's no sense in spending 600 million on travel,
Yes.
right? If you're supposed to be governing. And I mean, I posted something yesterday about the county of Machakos, where
Yes.
in 1 year they spent 631 million on
Yes.
travel. The same year they spent 130 million on bursaries.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm.
and the same year they have 1.1 billion in stalled projects because they don't have money. Just to
Yes.
think about that, they spent 631 million
Yes.
on travel, and they spent 130 million on bursaries,
And bursaries.
and now they have 1.1 billion worth of projects that are stalled because of no payment. They don't have money. So
Yes.
how is that making sense? And they started off by spending 60% of the money on themselves.
And
I mean,
still.
so
Yeah.
the point is that you're supposed to be leaders are supposed to be solving problems.
Yes.
So I don't want to hear from anybody saying that it's difficult to
To
fire
deal with
people.
that issue. And maybe
Yeah,
just to add on what you're saying, I mean, for me, I look at two low hanging fruits.
right.
Number one, there are very many ghost workers. And
Yeah,
please don't come tell me that you can't fight cartels. What are you going to do
right.
if you're not able to fight cartels? Nairobi,
Yeah.
I remember we were looking at Nairobi statistics, and the
Hmm.
ghost workers were about 7,777. I don't
Exactly.
think so.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it's around that number. If you
Yeah.
deal with those people, are you not
Hmm.
starting with solving that problem? And then
It's about, yeah.
yeah, it is. I agree with you. It's one thing to
Hmm.
just employ people, but if you become innovative and put that money into better use, can you
Yeah.
not employ those people in a more sustainable forum? For example, Professor Kivuta Kibwana, the one
Right.
for, is it Makweni? I can't remember.
Look, yeah. Hmm.
The county came up with a couple of plants, like,
Yeah.
what is it called? Mango processing plant.
Right. Right.
And that is more sustainable compared
Yeah.
to maintaining people in the county government and
Right.
exceeding. Because
Hmm.
if it gets to the point where the country cannot raise that much
Yeah.
revenue, are you not
Hmm.
going to fire those people either way? But if you
Yeah.
have a plant which provides consumables to people and
Right.
guarantee that people are going to buy those consumables, is it not
Right.
guaranteed that those people are going to be employed there forever? So, I mean,
Absolutely.
like just coming here and saying, oh, okay, you
Yeah.
can't remove permanent workers, you can't.
Yeah.
And most of those people, in fact, this is the last point. Sorry, I'm jumping in.
Yeah. That's okay.
Most of those people are not permanent workers.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's a point to look at.
Right.
And it's better to pick that money and put it in a more sustainable venture
Yeah.
that
Right.
is not
Right.
dependent on national revenue as compared
Right.
to you just putting it in now we are taking as many people and then we're employing them there. And are
Yeah.
they serving us? Are they?
So look, um, I tell people don't go into government if you're not interested in making tough decisions. I mean,
Yes.
leadership is about making tough decisions.
Hmm.
But we have to be willing to do that, right? You're supposed to be going to government because you have ideas and you think you can solve some problems. I don't want to hear from people telling me that it's hard. to make changes. You hear people all the time talking about, oh, there's a lot of how are you going to fight cartels, right? It's how does the FBI fight the mafia, right? They start off by believing in their cause, right? Making sure that they do what it needs to be able to get ahead of the mafia, right? So I don't want to hear that we cannot make changes.
Yeah,
Kenya is in a bad spot economically, and
that
frankly,
is,
Kenya needs problem solvers. It needs problem solvers.
yeah, that is,
Um, yeah, so if before people ask that question, ask yourself whether you're comfortable with the status quo, right?
yes.
If you're not comfortable with the status quo, then we need to do things differently.
You need to do the hard things and not just
Yeah,
take the easy way out. In
right.
summary, chenye
Hmm.
tumesema ni ati
Yeah,
tunakopa deni,
yeah,
lakini chenye tunafanyia hiyo deni ni
yeah,
kuchukua kama kwenda kukunywa pombe,
right.
things that are not like are not long term, things
Yeah,
that are not sustainable. And that
right,
is why, as a country, we will say we have a debt of about 12.5 trillion. But then when
right.
you look around, there is not much that you can see in regards to that 12.5
Yes,
trillion. All right, we'll go
absolutely.
to the next issue.
Hmm.
And that is just a moment, bear with me.
Hmm.
The poverty in county in
Yeah,
comparison to now such expenditures. And I think you had started
yeah,
working on it before, but
yeah,
maybe panel it down a bit more.
yeah.
So, I mean, Bonnie has highlighted one county. What county was that? Garissa?
Well, there's a lot of them I can give you. So let's look at Mandera, 73% poverty rate,
And
has
then,
received 116 billion
yes,
in 11 years of devolution.
yes,
I'm gonna look at Baringo,
yes,
47% poverty rate,
yes,
has received 60 billion worth of transfers from
yes,
citizens across the country.
yes,
I'm going to look at a place like Turkana,
yes,
83% poverty rate, despite 129 billion in money. Okay,
yes,
that's why the reason why I think this is so important is that, and maybe I'm a weird guy. Like I come from the private sector. If I'm assessing people's performance, and I know that the objective was for them to go solve problems. The entire point of government, as we said at the beginning, was to serve people, to make sure
yes,
that people have services, people are able to have a hospital that they can, if their child is sick, they can take them, right? Supposed to have functioning roads and sources of water, right? Um, and part of, poverty rate tells you a lot about what's happening. If it
yes,
says that there's no economic opportunities, when 83% of the county is having trouble feeding themselves,
yes,
uh, it tells you all you need to know about what's happening there. If you see a county where there is 20% poverty rate versus 80% poverty rate, you can learn more about where the money is going, because if I send 130 billion to a place and I can see that the money is utilized to develop the place, to build hospitals, to
yes,
build roads, right, to build infrastructure for water and things like that, those people that are going to get those jobs, they're going to go and spend the money at the
yes,
supermarket. They're going to send their
yes.
kids somewhere. They're going to spend the weekend eating
The
out, and
circular movement of the money.
so the money is circulating, right? And everyone seems to do well, right?
Yes,
But when the money goes there, I'm telling you, Turkana had an 82% poverty rate before devolution.
yes,
We've sent in 121 billion, 129 billion, and it's 83%.
83%.
So where is the return for that investment?
Would you just like speak on what poverty rate means?
Yeah,
Because I think having an
yeah,
understanding on
yeah,
also how that impacts the community is very important. Because I'm looking at a county like
yeah,
Samburu. It
right,
has 72% poverty.
yeah,
And why I
yeah.
want to bring that into the equation, I believe there is a correlation between
Hmm.
poverty and bad leadership. It is
Yes, I mean,
easy to maintain bad
yeah,
leaders if the
right,
population is poverty stricken. It is
yeah,
easy for people to elect bad leaders and support their bad leaders if the population
right,
is poverty stricken.
yeah,
So please just speak on what it means in terms of poverty rate and
right.
then how that relates to leadership.
So in this poverty rate here means the percentage of people that are having a hard time affording 2 meals a day. It's that simple,
Yes.
right? Families that are having a hard time affording 2 meals a day.
Mm.
And so when I hear me say that in Turkana, 83% of people are poor, it means that 83% of the people almost cannot even afford to have 2 meals a day, right?
Yes.
That's what that means. So we're not talking about, poverty being not being able to have a car,
Mm.
or vacation home, right? We are
Mm.
talking about having the ability to afford two
Just
meals for your
what a
family.
meal.
That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about. And so if you send, I mean, the reason why to me I get so frustrated when I think about this is I can imagine if I pick up a high school student in Jamhuri High School,
Yes.
okay, Form 3 student, and I give him this data points and I tell you that this county, I want you to go and find out how to fix these problems in Turkana,
Yeah.
okay? And I take a Form 3 student and I tell him the county has 83% poverty rate. I tell him there are no roads. You will see there are no functioning hospitals.
Mm.
I want you to spend that money,
Mm.
okay, in solving these problems.
Mm.
That high school student is gonna do a better job than the people that are in government today. And I don't say that to be condescending. It's just the reality, you know. If you take a county like Nairobi and you just go back and look at the last 3 years under Sakaja,
Mm.
if you take, let's say, a standard A student and you ask it, I just want you to go and act crazy, just be dumb, make all reckless, don't have any, just go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine them coming up with something worse or anywhere near what Sakaja has
As
done.
bad as
I'm
what is
just saying the truth
happening. Mm.
because we are talking about a county that has 33 billion to
Mm.
spend. Okay,
Mm.
how does that county end up in a situation where we have drainage? It rains in Nairobi, and all of a sudden it's a lake, right?
Yes.
We have garbage all over the city, and we have 33 billion, right? But it's when you start looking at how these leaders are handling money and what they're doing with, even outside of a corruption. I'm just now talking about competency.
Yes.
Competency. That you have 33 billion, you should know that if you spend 55% of that money on yourself, it means that you've lost a lot of money that can be
Yes.
used to go and serve
That you
people.
can
And that
spend
should
it.
be common sense.
Mm.
And so I can, like, I try to think of someone who's in standard eight. Can a standard eight
Do
kid
this
miss
right.
that?
Mm.
They're not going to do that. They know. I think they know that you can't spend all that money on yourself and expect that you're going to serve people. And that's why I get so flabbergasted when I look at these people and wonder that when you spend 55%, did you really, how can you spend 55% on yourself and expect that you're going to serve people?
That you're going to
Or
paper
when
people.
you hear that the county government of Nairobi has spent 6.3 billion in 1 year
Mm.
on four lawyers, and then you still expect to be able to serve people. You
What
spend
is
20% of the budget on four people that was not accounted for. Nobody goes and projects that they're going to spend 6.3 billion on legal fees, and you do that and you don't ask yourself, what does that mean in terms of your county government's ability
there?
to
Mm.
serve people, to make sure that people have functioning, hospitals?
Do you
That is what
yeah.
bugs me so much.
Do you know the shocker was when
Yeah,
he went to the media and then he was saying, "Oh, we've provided employment to 4,000. I think
yeah,
they called green something." And I was like,
yeah,
"What are they doing?" Oh, okay. So you've provided employment. What are they doing? And I just want to
yeah,
bring a case that I incurred
yeah,
um, in Germany. So I was visiting Germany, and then the
yeah,
company that I was engaged with
mm-hmm,
does wind energy.
yeah, mm-hmm,
So they were installing a wind turbine. That
mm-hmm,
wind turbine, like that one turbine, because I visited that one turbine, there were many, but I visited that
right, mm-hmm,
was a capacity of about 5 megawatts. So,
okay,
and do you know what that guy told me? He said,
yeah,
"You know how many people are working on that turbine?" I said, "Okay, how many?" He said, "4 people." I said, "Ah." He said, "Yeah, I'm sure if it was
yeah,
in Kenya, you would have at
yeah,
least 200 people that one turbine." Like it was so
yeah,
embarrassing, but that was the
yeah,
simple nature. I mean, it is
right,
one thing to say you want to provide employment, and I'm sorry we jumped back to that other topic.
yeah,
It is one thing
yeah,
to say that the solution to poverty rate is providing
yeah,
employment, but then also
yeah,
you've got to come to the question and speak about sustainability and efficiency.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
make sense to have 400 people, 4,000 people who are doing nothing.
yeah, yeah,
It rains And then we are
Yeah.
in a lake, and then you come tell us, oh, I employed 4,000 people. And then,
Yeah. Look, nobody has an issue with providing employment opportunity. What we want you to do is solve problems, and then you can employ people. I mean,
yes,
I am happy with Sakaja taking that 6.3 billion instead of writing a check to four lawyers. Take that 6.3 billion and say we're gonna fix these issues of drainage. We're gonna make sure that when it rains in Nairobi the next time, that people don't have floods. Go spend money, hire people, pay them fair wages, and solve problems.
yes,
That's what we're asking for.
yes,
Nobody is saying that we don't want people to have jobs. I
yes,
want people to have jobs because look, when everyone is doing well, then the country is doing well.
yes,
What we don't want is for someone to go and spend 6.3 billion on legal fees, 20%
yes,
of the country's budget,
yes,
and then go and they employ people and they use 200 million and say that they're employing people, right? It's about people have to be competent, right? And I think
yes,
that's one of the challenges.
yes.
Competency means that number one, you understand that you're in government to solve problems.
Mm.
You know, I saw Governor Sakaja the other day talking about this the caliber of people that we have in this country is just so depressing. He was talking to some kids about some chapati making machine that I think the was promised to these kids by the president, and he says that the county of Nairobi has bought one, and now they're waiting on the president to donate money to go and buy another machine. And I just look at that and I say, it's 2026. We are talking about the US is sending people beyond the moon, okay? Um, and we are out here talking about a chapati making machine, and the people that are talking about the chapati making machine have blown 1.2 billion on travel in 1 year.
Yes.
Okay, Sakaja blew 1.2 billion on
We are
travel in
coming to that.
2024, and he's talking about a chapati making machine. I
Yes.
mean, this is when you just want to lose your damn mind, you know? I'm
You know,
sorry to, yeah, it's just depressing, when you
do
see
you,
this poor talk.
do you know, and I think I've ever said this to you.
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't think God loves us. I don't think God loves us because
Yeah.
tell me why. Tell me why.
Yeah.
When you compare, we have a
Yeah.
country that is
Yeah.
watch hata tuache people going to the moon because some of us are
Yeah.
around that. Let's
Yeah.
even speak about we have a country which is producing their own medicine,
Yeah.
producing their own vaccine, like just
Yeah.
managing everything else in their country. Even if they still a
Yeah.
pain here and there, you can see that
Yeah.
people are okay in that country. And then
Yeah.
sisi tuko kwa nchi yenye
Yeah.
mvua ikinyesha tuko kwa lake
Yeah.
of the population, more than half of the population is not employed.
Yeah.
When someone comes to you and says, I'm going
Yeah.
to spend this much billion
Yeah.
buying a chapati making, any priority
Yeah.
tumeka tuko na shida zetu zote.
But okay, so let me defend Saka just a little bit. You're talking a man who has no education. And
Okay,
look,
that's true.
there are a lot of fine people that are not educated.
Yes.
But what we don't want is those people making decisions about 33 billion.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Nobody has an issue with people that are not educated, right?
Yes.
What I don't want is people who can only say like his head can only think about a chapati making machine, and that's the guy that you put into place to be governor. So when and again, this is I spent a lot of time looking at Nairobi because to me the issues are so obvious.
Yes.
And I just struggle with that because I ask myself, how is it that you have a guy who does not understand that if you below 20% of the country's budget on four lawyers, you are not going to serve people? How
Yes.
is it that you don't see that? How is it that you're sending people, you're spending 1.2 billion on travel to go send people to Morocco to study proactive management? You send people to Canada to study conflict resolution and personal branding. You don't see that that means that you've lost 1.2 billion that can be used to
That
fix a
could we
road.
have could
So
actually went to
right,
school. Yes.
exactly. But so it's so frustrating to me. But I also step back and say the guy has no education. He has no education. I mean, what are you expecting him to do? He doesn't know,
No,
right?
but Bonnie, even
Yeah,
before we go to the next topic, you,
yeah,
where you came from, but majority of the people come from
Yeah.
households that
Right.
has parents that did not go to school. But even those
Yeah.
parents just know the simple thing as
Yeah.
balancing the household. Simple
Yeah.
as, okay, we are borrowing a loan. We cannot take that money and use it
Yeah.
extravagantly. Okay, I need
Yeah.
to put this money aside because nitalipa
Yeah.
fees kesho. Okay, what
Yeah.
is important is for me to set money aside for fees and sikwenda
Yeah.
pombe.
Yeah.
Si masomo ndo shida. Sakaja,
I,
of course, masomo plays a factor, but we have a lot of special
I,
breed people in Kenya.
yeah, I do switch back and forth between is it stupidity or is it greed? Is it corrupt? But I'm telling you, I do know that a lot of people are greedy, but
Yes,
I also know that many of these people are
yes,
just not smart. Like honestly, um, and can you really blame him? I mean, look. If I didn't have a job, maybe,
yes.
right? I didn't have a job
Mm,
and I've been out of work for 5 years and I see a job advertisement and they're looking for a brain surgeon,
mm.
right? And I don't have any other pros. I might lift up my hand and say, look, I'm gonna see if I can land on the job. Now, who are you gonna blame? You gonna blame me for lifting my hand, or you gonna blame yourself? If you're dumb enough to give me that job, knowing that I'm not qualified for, right? You have to be able to own the consequences. And I think
I
that
agree.
that's what we citizens have to. We are talking about a guy who has no education.
Yeah,
What did Sakaja do before he became governor? That tells you that
he was
he
great.
can run anything. He never ran a kiosk.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
he didn't even have the discipline to sit in a class and get an education like you and I.
yes.
And then we put that guy into the governor's position to run a county with 16,000 people, to run a county with revenues of 33 billion, with a lot of serious issues. I mean, Nairobi, even if you have someone smart, who's educated, who has a lot of experience, it's still very challenging because you have a
Yes,
lot of issues, right?
yes.
And so you have to have someone who's going to make smart decisions about how best to deploy capital to make sure that you can serve people.
People and
But
the
you put someone in there who has no education, who doesn't even have the discipline. I'm talking about people that just take shortcuts,
Yes,
right? You saw him, and these things manifest when someone is on the position, right? Um, you know, instead of being a visionary leader, you're talking about chapati making machine.
Chapati, the
You're being
potters.
questioned, yeah, you're being questioned about your performance. And did you see that there was another episode that I saw of him being questioned about people he had put into serious positions,
Yes,
like people that fight fires, right? And when you look at the people that are elevated to these positions, someone has a diploma in hotel management or something, theology, and these are the people that are supposed to be solving problems, right?
I think
That's,
alijiuliza kupigana na
yeah,
moto si ni kufungua tu maji. I mean, what do you...
yeah. What we need to do as Kenyans is to say, many of us, the people that work in government are a minority. Most people are in the private sector. If you cannot imagine someone like Sakaja getting the CEO position running a company with
a
33 billion in
company,
revenue, tell me why you think he'll be a better
you'll
governor.
trust him with 33 billion. And I agree with you.
Exactly.
I want us to run to the next two last
Yeah.
issues.
Awesome.
And the next issue is about travel economy.
Hmm.
So, Mumeona, they've
Yeah.
spent about 60, like Machakos, they've spent 60% of their budget on themselves. And then
Yeah.
we think, haya, hiyo imetosha, hawa watu wataibika,
Right.
they will take the remainder for the public to
Yeah.
benefit from it. No,
Right.
that is you thinking. That is not them thinking.
Yeah.
These people, in addition,
Right.
taking that much money on themselves. Kumbuka tumesema average of about 47%, but some go
Yeah.
even as high as 60%. I think
Right.
there is
Right.
one which had 63% of
Yeah.
the total budget on themselves.
Right.
Wameenda wakaamua we want to go get training.
Yeah.
Nani amesema strategic money. Kuna ingine niliona jana ulipost. There is one where they went for training on livestock management in Machakos. Many
Yes.
people keep asking
Yes.
Machakos.
Yes.
I'll just give a tentative figure, some figures, and
Yeah.
then Bonnie will pick up on the issue. For
Hmm.
example, Nairobi spent, and this is money spent a year, and some of them
Yeah.
you must know that they exceed the amount
Yeah.
spent on bursary. This is the
Right.
spent. Transa na hiyo Machakos, they spent 631 million on
Yeah.
travel, both domestic and foreign. I think Bonnie might break it down.
Hmm.
Nairobi, they spent about 863 million. I mean,
Yeah,
Bursary, I think around that year was around 600 and something million. So they would
right.
rather put more on travel and then
Yeah.
much lesser on actually serving the public. Bonnie, just touch on that.
I spend a lot of time on this issue because, again, I mean, our country has so many issues, but the one that to me is just so, it's a slap in the face.
Yes.
When I see people spending money like this,
Yes.
and let me start off by saying, when you look at 2024, 2025,
Mm.
the county that was most disciplined spent only 46 million on travel. I want you to think about this.
Mm.
And I believe this was Makueni, spent 46 million
Wow.
total on travel.
Wow.
The county that spent the most was Nairobi. It spent 863 million.
Yes.
And that was an improvement because the year before that they spent 1.2 billion. So I think
Yeah.
our effort over the last
Let's
one
pay.
year, 2 years is paying off, right? So we're making
Sorry.
progress.
Yes.
So they spent 863 million on travel. The average county spent about 342 million.
Wow.
Um, and when you look at the trips, when you look at why people are traveling, again, I go back to Machakos. Machakos started off by taking 60% of the money, which was their budget was 13 billion. They
Yes.
spent 60% on salaries
Mm.
and they employ 8,000 people, which is about 0.6% of the population. So you've lost 60% to begin with.
Yes.
And then they go on and spend 631 million.
On them.
Okay.
Mm.
And I give you an example, and I say that they spent bursary, they spent 130. So they spent about more than 4 shillings
Yes.
on travel for every 1 shilling they spent on bursaries.
Wow.
Okay. So then you look at where they're going, right? So just listen to some of these trips. There is a livestock conference in Brazil. They spent 5 people to Brazil at the
Yes.
cost of 9.6 million.
Wow.
Remember, this county has a 40% poverty rate.
Yes.
And this county started by taking 60% of every single shilling in
Yes.
salaries.
Yes.
Now, all this stuff that we're talking about is on the 40% that's left.
Wow.
Okay? So they sent 5 people to
Brazil.
a livestock conference in Brazil at the cost of 9.6 million.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, there are 3 pages to document these trips. I'm talking, um, I don't think I can identify any month where they were not abroad. Not 1 month that I can identify. Okay, people are coming back. They're in Kenya for a week. They go back. They send 2 people to another conference in Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
Leadership Summit. They come back. There is another trip to Dubai. Send 4 people there at the cost of 3.7 million for strategic organization change management. I mean, some of these things, you know what I mean? Like, okay, there's another trip listen to this one. The governor sends, and I think it was actually the governor because it's one individual that went.
Yes.
There's some type of meeting in Dubai. The
Yes.
topic is um, contemporary public administration, leadership management, and good governance networking.
Wow.
Okay, it says all the right things. But why is it that it needs to be held in Dubai? There is another trip where they sent 3 people to Dubai on Arab healthcare. I didn't even know that we have Arabs in Machakos. You know, I mean, these things are so offensive. And we laugh about this, but I tell people, what I want you to do is I want to imagine you're in the private sector and you're talking to your boss.
Mm.
Okay? This is your performance discussion. You're talking about how you did for the year.
Mm.
And I'm your boss, and I'm asking about these trips.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask you, you sent people to Singapore,
Yes.
project planning in Singapore. Project planning. You send people in Singapore, you send 2 people at the cost of 650 million.
But we said we want to be Singapore. Where else are we going to learn about being Singapore?
Yeah, the county of Machako spent 18 people to games in Uganda. Games at the cost of 4.7 million. The county of Machako spent a person to go to Tanzania to study. It's a short course on effective report writing. I mean, this is what makes me so upset
I'm
because
sorry.
look, you and I, we work in the private sector, and I think that we are educated people, right? So we are not laughing on education. We want people to have skills, but
Yeah.
this is not getting skills.
No.
This is stupidity.
Yes.
You know, people sit there and they pull out their passports and book trips. Machakos is sending people to the UK to a public park. There is about 4 trips here that say that these people are going to a park in the UK. I mean, people have ran out of creativity that to a point where now they're sending people to go hang out in a public park.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay?
laughing. I'm sorry.
People are going to a public park. I couldn't believe that. I said, at the park? Really? But that's what's happening. You know? It's just, and again, what's worse is that they started by taking 60% of the budget
Of the
on
budget.
salaries.
Yes.
All this nonsense that we're talking about is on the remaining 40%. And then you listen to that, and then you go to the same report, and you look at the government says they have stall projects. And so I opened the stall project, and I'm interested to know why are projects stalling.
Yes.
They have 1.1 billion worth of projects that are stalled.
Painting.
I want to
Yes.
remind, we started by saying that the country is spending so much money on debt.
Yes.
So we've part of the money that 12 trillion that we have, we took money and we sent to the county government to build hospitals and roads, right? The county of Machakos goes in, they give a contract for 1.1 billion,
Mm.
and then projects stall. And so then you look at the reason for some of these projects stalling. So the county of Machakos, right? The first project, it's a contract that gives someone, and it's stalled. The reason, lack of funds.
Wow.
Um, Construction of livestock offices. We need to have another discussion around what is really development.
Maybe
Because now
that is true.
these are development projects, and the project was to build livestock offices.
Yes.
I didn't even know livestock need offices, but okay. But the project is stuck, it's stalled because of lack of funds,
Yes.
right? I'm saying that they have 3 pages worth of stall projects worth 1.1 billion, and the most given reason for the stall
Lack of funds.
stalling is that there is no money.
Yeah.
So there is no money to pay these people, but yet they've spent 631 million in 1 year on
For
trips
trips.
to send people to the park, to hang out in the park. Um, I started by telling you that I always look when I'm doing this analysis, I ask myself, what is the issue? So I say, is it an issue with, is it that we just have a lot of dumb people, or what is the problem? If I take, let's see, I'm running an experiment and I'm in a high school class and I say to people, I'm gonna give you money and I want to give you this data points and tell you, this is what's happening in this county, poverty rate, the issue with healthcare, education, and I want you guys to tell me how you will spend this money. I don't think that the last guy in that class is going to do this. The
No.
last guy, the guy who's always last, is not going to do this because this is we're talking about people that are irredeemable,
Yes.
right? Because how do you do this? How do you spend 631 billion
Yes.
on total wasteful travel? And you started by taking 60% of the money on
Yes.
yourself. Then you end up blowing money like this. And
On.
then we end up with 1.1 billion of money. I want you to imagine that 1.1 billion. There are people that will have been working on those projects,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
People in your, because nobody is driving from Nairobi to go and get a job
Yes.
in Machakos.
Yes.
The people that are employed or supposed to be employed are people in your
From
neighborhood. And
Machakos. Yes.
and these projects have stalled because
Yes.
you are spending money
On
like a
yourself. And then the
exactly.
amount of money that you're supposed to spend on the rightful
Yeah,
projects at that point, that is when you
right.
have money because it
Yeah,
has nothing to do with you.
right. The last thing I want to say about this entire situation is that um, we hire people and they tell us they're the best people for these jobs. They come in and say that nobody's running for office telling you that I'm going to be spending all this money going abroad. But yet, as soon as they get the job, they cannot function. They cannot function. And so, what we need to insist as Kenyans is that we don't want you to get on the job training. If you don't have the skills, then we don't need you,
Qualified.
right?
Mm.
I am saying I'm okay. If I'm governor, I'll tell my team. You want education? We're going to help you to get education, but there's Zoom in this day and age. There's Zoom. You sit there and you get whatever skills you want, right? You ever heard of something called Coursera,
Yes.
right? Where it's a website that you can go and you can sign up at a
I
class.
did project management in Coursera. One
Exactly.
of the courses was project financing and planning. Please.
Yes.
And
I want you to sit there, sit your behind a computer and do that course. You don't do it by going to Dubai,
yes,
right?
yes,
Because there's no value. And so
yes.
we need to insist on people that are smart in terms of how they handle our resources.
I
We cannot be spending 17 billion every year at the county level on this nonsense. So last year they spent 16 billion on travel. Do you know how much money they spent on bursaries?
how much?
The entire 47 counties spent 4.5 billion on bursaries
Wow.
and 16 billion on travel. So for every 1 shilling they spend on bursary, they spend 4 on travel.
That is just sad.
Yeah.
That
And
is
again,
sad.
you have one county that's spending 46 million, Makueni, and you have one county spending 863. To
100.
me, that tells you that this is a choice.
It is.
Because
Mm.
if one county can spend 46 million, the other one can spend 863, this is about choice.
Who is the governor for Makueni?
I don't remember who the governor is,
Is it
but
not Kivuta? Kilonzo?
Kivutha Kibwana was, uh, I don't remember. I'm gonna look up, but you know, there are some, we have a
Kudos
lot of
to
issues
him.
across the country.
Kudos to him.
Yeah,
Kudos to him. Nataka kuhighlight two counties. Unajua watu wa Kakamega wanakaa wanafikiria Gai Machakos watu wanafanya nini? What are they doing?
yeah,
Listen, Kakamega people. On
yeah,
domestic travel, you guys spent 489 million.
yeah.
489 million. Foreign travel, I think watu wa Kakamega wanaogopa ndege, wakatumia 35 million. So in
That's
total, they have
yeah.
524 million.
And it's not just on how much they spend. Let me tell you where people in Kakamega went, because
Yes.
Kakamega is one of those it's a depressing place the way when you think about money. So Kakamega,
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of data. Like I live and need this data. So Kakamega foreign travel. Oh, and it's what makes you sad is when you look at the so I'm looking at this and I'm seeing half the table is the county assembly that's supposed to be holding the governor accountable,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And the other half is the county exec. So in other words, they're all doing the same thing.
In one, yes.
Yeah. So the oh my God, there is a trip to secondary school games in Uganda. Why is Kakamega sending people to a secondary school games in Uganda? You know, they love games. There's several games here to think about this. The county government sent 4 people. This is Kakamega
Yes.
to early childhood development course in Rwanda.
Wow.
Early childhood development course in Rwanda.
Shit.
Okay.
Shit.
There is a trip to HR, Human Resource Summit in Rwanda. Okay.
Yes.
Training on legislative practices in Malaysia. Governance and good practices in Malaysia. I mean,
Here's
what's
what
the
I'm going
problem?
to give Kakamega. Not
Yeah,
to say that, again, we start from this point. If you're not qualified, do not apply for the job. But
yeah,
comparatively, other than you and your wameenda kufanya Uganda na Rwanda, that one on legislative training, I think you can say, okay, maybe
yeah,
you're onto something here. Because
yeah,
the unfortunate thing is, people elect MCAs. They do not
yeah,
understand a function of an MCA is making
yeah,
bylaws
yeah,
amongst other things. And bylaws
yeah,
are things that are going to affect your region, your county. And
yeah,
if you are elected, you remember those Kericho MCAs who came to Senate and they could not even speak Swahili, leave alone any
yeah,
other language.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
electing people who are going to make laws, but lugha
yeah,
unaweza ongea tu ni Kimaragoli ama Kidaho
yeah,
ama Kisuha.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is it's gone out of control. Someone sent me a message the other day. The county of Tana River
Yes.
is writing to some county here in the US, a county you've never heard of.
Yes.
Okay? And what they're proposing is that they come there as a team, as a delegation, to benchmark, to see how this county runs its affairs.
Mbona
So there is a
nilisema
what I'm telling you is that that's going to appear next year in the financial report that we're going to be talking about. And so these people, they see that I'm like, wow, you know, some small county in Kenya is asking us, you know, can they come and benchmark? Um, I mean, are we just full of dumb people? And when do how much? At some point, we have to start getting the benefit for all this
that
benchmarking,
is
don't you think? You know, don't you think? You know,
way back,
yeah,
because it's been happening for 11 years.
yeah. And why is it that you cannot benchmark on a computer? Is it impossible? These trips happen because people, again, we've converted and perverted government
Yes,
to an extraction machine, and you know, people are going to waste
yes,
20 million
yes.
so that they can go and claim per diems,
Mm,
right? And so the trip might cost the citizens 10 million, but the people, they're gonna be able to pocket a million. Like so
yes,
they don't mind blowing 10 million so that they can put a million in their pocket.
yes,
That's what we're talking about here.
yes.
Look, if I took a job somewhere and then all of a sudden I'm telling my boss I cannot function. I need to go to Singapore and Malaysia and Canada and all these places. They're gonna be like, so you're not the right candidate for the job.
No,
Why did we hire you? You know,
you're not.
why is this different? And then what do we learn? If
Mm,
Nairobi is spending 1.2 billion in 2020 24,
yes,
going from Marrakesh, Morocco to Vancouver, BC,
yes,
and they never learn. You
yes.
know, what is the return for this money?
Mm,
There's no return.
mm,
I am at a point where I think that as Kenyans we need to write
yes.
letters to all these countries and beg them and say, please,
Please do not
if a
allow.
Kenyan if a Kenyan delegation inquires about some benchmarking, please shut them down.
Mm,
Refuse it. Don't do it because it's the only way we're gonna get this full stop.
yes.
You know, I mean, I told you people are going to hang out in the UK at a park, and you're paying for it. You know.
Mimi nataka kwenda. What is that park in New York? I've been thinking about it.
Central Park or
Yeah,
Rucker?
Central Park. If someone can
Yeah,
pay for me to go to Central Park, is my dream for this year. I
yeah,
Let's go to the next issue.
hmm
We spoke about and this is the point that I told you I had forgotten about.
yeah,
We have this much money that is being
hmm
paid to the MCAs, to the governor.
yeah,
And these MCAs are surrounded by a population which
right,
would earn as little as, and that is averaging because there are people
yeah,
who are not earning at all, who will
right,
earn as little as 7,000 on a month.
right,
But then you
yeah,
would have an MCA or a governor who's earning
yeah,
at least 22 times
right,
worth of that. And you
yeah,
have to understand from this point, we
right,
said again, this is money that is borrowed. It is money that is borrowed. And then we realize we're giving it to people who are not competent in terms of performance because they have to train
yeah,
themselves. And
yeah,
even when you're paying them in a county
yeah,
which has, because the poverty rate ranges from up to 83%. In a
right,
county which has, let's say, 83% poverty rate,
right,
meaning people don't have food, unaenda
yeah,
unalipa MCA 22 times of that.
yeah,
I wanted to link this with also that issue of excessive expenditure
yeah,
on salaries.
right,
When Sakaja says he's hired 4,000 more people,
yeah,
what people fail to understand, these
yeah,
4,000 people might earn even as little as 12,000 or 15,000.
right, right,
Majority of the amount is being
yeah,
spent on the county assembly employees, that is the MCA and the governor.
right, right,
Majority of the money, that 60% that you're speaking about in Machakos, does not go to those
yeah,
actual laborers. It goes
right,
to those MCAs. So at average, you realize these people earn even almost 30% more than what the local people are earning. Hiyo
yeah,
ni economy tunaishi, mbona, why would we stay in a country which has such high disparity and this is
yeah,
money that is taxes from the people? Bonnie, just speak
yeah,
to it because it just annoys me that you will
yeah,
tax people to nothing,
right,
then you take that money you put in the pocket of a few.
yeah. So I started by telling you that um, what we have in Kenya happening right now is that our structural government has been perverted.
Yes.
into a tool for extraction. And
Yes.
when you look at numbers, numbers tell you all you need. Politicians can say whatever they want.
Yes.
What doesn't lie is data, and data is telling us that what we have right now in our country is a
Yes.
system of economic apartheid.
Yes.
There's no other way to describe it.
Yes.
The average governor in 2024, 2025, excuse me,
Yep.
the average governor earned an income that is 62 times what the average citizen made that year.
Mm.
The average MCA in 2024, 2025 earned an income that is 10 times what the average citizen is making.
Wow.
The averages don't tell you much. There are some places where, for example, a governor made an income that is 140 times
Wow.
what the average citizen made in that county. In the same county, the MCA made an income that is 22 times what the average citizen made.
Wow.
Okay, and so I go back to my we started by me saying that in my view, the entire point of government is to serve people. So when you
Yes.
have a governor making an income that is 140 times what the average citizen is making,
Yes.
that doesn't make any sense. If the purpose of government is to serve people, how can you justify that,
Yes.
right? And what I ask people to think about is Kenya, are we special? Are we saying that there's something about politicians that we know that the world doesn't? When you look at a place like the US, where in this state of Texas, the governor of this county makes about 150,000 a year. Okay, the governor. The average citizen here is making about 80,000 in this state of Texas.
Yes.
So the governor's income is about two times at most what the average citizen is making,
Yes.
right? And compare that with a place like Mandera, like Turkana, right? Where I'm talking about someone making 140,000,
Yes.
140 times what the average citizen is making.
Yes.
We continue, for whatever reason, to spend everything we have on politicians. And what I keep asking Kenyans is, are we saying that there's something that we understand about politicians in terms of their ability to give us, is there value that they're creating that the world doesn't know? Because else in the world are people behaving like this.
Yes.
Our politicians are the second highest paid globally when you control for the size of our economy. They
Yes.
make more money than politicians in Canada, in
Wow.
Australia, in Germany, in Switzerland, in France, in the United Kingdom, in the United States. What are we missing? I mean,
Well, it's very sad.
what is the world
Yes,
missing in terms
we
of
have.
value, right?
Mm.
It doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
And so what I want Kenyans to do is to think about if the purpose of government is to serve people.
Yes.
We cannot say that if that's the purpose, that does not it does not make sense if or spending money on politicians like this does not make sense if
No,
the
it does
purpose of
not.
government is to serve
It
people.
does not.
And I don't have a problem with people earning a living. Again, I go back to, I say that human beings are free to choose what they want to do.
Mm.
The problem is that you cannot do that in government, right?
No.
The average Kenyan makes 20,000 a month
Yes.
before taxes.
Mm.
And that Kenyan is being asked to pay a senator.
Mm.
So think about this. The average Kenyan makes 20,000 a day. A Kenyan senator is getting 18,000 a day
Wow.
in substance allowance,
Yes.
food and drinks.
Yes.
18,000 a day, and the average Kenyan is making 20,000 a month.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
It,
They don't make sense.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah,
And you should
yeah,
even check. And I'm happy now that we are dissecting some of the issues that we were not touching
yeah,
previously.
right.
When we get to the point where we actually look at the sustenance allowance
Yeah,
based on,
right.
you will realize, especially on those foreign travels, it's even past
Yeah,
that 18,000. All right,
yeah.
I'm going to bring in the last issue and then
Hmm.
we will go to closing. So
Yeah,
we've spoken about how these counties are spending this much on salaries, spending this
yeah,
much on travel, and of course now that leaves very little to be spent to
right.
the public. How much are they raising in terms of revenue?
Oh, I told you that this is the discussion I think every Kenyan has to be a part of.
Yes.
This structure of government that we have
Mm,
is not sustainable. I'm just going to
no,
be honest and tell Kenyans.
no.
Devolution is going to fail, and it's going to fail very quickly if we do not get involved and if we do not make the right changes. Our 47 counties last year, on average, raised only 5.9% of
Wow.
their income. So that means that 94% of the income that they spent came from somewhere else.
Wow.
I started this discussion by telling you that at the county level, we are building deficits of about 2 trillion every year.
Wow.
So even before you send the 1 shilling to the county government, you're
Yes.
already in deficits. And so when you hear a county is only able to make 1% or
Wow.
2% of its budget every year, and you and I cannot control what they spend.
Mm.
Not every one of these, so I told you the average county last year spent, the county spent 533 billion collectively. In 2023, 2024, they spent 483. So in other words, in when you compare year over year,
Yes.
right, they spent an additional 50 billion.
Yes.
Okay. The point I'm making here is this: every county is adding what it spends every year.
Yes.
Okay. If one county spent 12 billion in 2023, 2024, they spend 13 or 14 billion the next year. Okay.
Next year.
So they are doing that, and then when you look at their own ability to raise money within the county is going down.
Yes.
So in 2023, 2024, county government spent 483 billion,
Yes.
but they raised about 10% of the budget
Yes.
on their own. In 2024, 2025, they increased spending by 50 billion, but they go down from 10% to 5.9%. So in other words, numbers are going the opposite
Yes.
direction.
Mm.
Our system of government is not going to succeed if the average county is getting 90%, 96% of the budget outside the county. It is not going to work
No.
because what you're lacking is you're lacking the mechanism for instilling difference.
Yes.
I'm sorry, discipline, right?
Yes.
And people are spending, when you look at, let me give you an example of some counties, right? You look at a county that is raising, so there's a couple of counties who are raising 1 or 2%, right? So let me pick West Pokot as an example. Okay, West Pokot can only raise 1% of its budget.
Wow.
Okay, we are talking about less than 100 million.
Yes.
But that county spent 540 million on travel.
Yes.
Okay, so they don't have a problem spending 5 times what they're
What
making
they
locally on
raised in
travel.
terms of revenue. Yes.
You know, where is the discipline? The county of Lamu can only raise 1% of its budget, which is less than 100 million, and they spend about 200 million on travel. The point is this. In fact, when you look at the counties that are making the least internally, are the most indisciplined.
Yes.
Right? Those counties that I said, we have 24 counties that cannot raise more than 3% of their budget. When you look at the expenditure on things like mansions,
Yes.
right? In Turkana, the county there has spent 285 million
Wow.
on a mansion for the governor.
Yes.
So that project has stalled, by the way, right? The limit when it comes to governor's mansion under guidelines by the SRC is 45 million. They spent, or they're gonna, I think they spent like 150 million, and the project has stalled, and they owe like another 130. So by the time they are done, they're gonna spend close to 290 million on a mansion, and they can only raise 1% of the budget. In fact, I don't think that Turkana has ever, if you think about how much money they raised since devolution, I don't think they've ever collected a billion.
I don't think if how much did you say they raised last financial year?
So for Turkana, it's always 1%. What I'm saying is if you take Turkana and you said they've been in they've Turkana's account has existed for 11 years and
Yes.
it's received a total of 129 billion.
Yes.
I don't think that since 2014, if you add up everything that they've raised in town, I don't think they've ever made 1 billion. Like if you add up all the own service revenue,
yeah,
I don't think they're gonna get to 1 billion.
I don't
And how much
think
have they
even they
received?
come close to 1 billion.
Yeah, yeah. So we have counties that are spending the entire year making, they make 59 million.
Yes.
And then when you look at their budget for travel, it's
Mm.
600 million.
Mm.
You know, so what we are missing is accountability. What we're missing is fiscal discipline.
Yes.
And so that's why I keep talking about this, because this structure of government is not going to succeed. We're at a point where it's going to collapse and it's going
Yes.
to hurt a lot of people.
Yes.
So we need to get involved, right? And one of the
Yes.
first thing that we need to do is we need to have a whatever structure of government that we select as Kenyans has
Yes.
to be economically viable.
Yes.
There is no reason to have 47 counties, many of which are counties in name only.
Yes.
You know, they in name only because they cannot do anything on their own
Yes.
to maintain their. I mean, we cannot tell the county of Isiolo not to
Mm.
spend 4 billion on an airport,
Yes.
right? We can't do that.
Mm.
Yet we are on the hook for
Yes.
everything that they do.
Yes.
You know, it just doesn't work like that.
Even as you close, because now we are getting to the closing, and thank you so much for getting us through the numbers.
Yeah.
We appreciate. We've gotten to a point where Kenyans again have realized there is no one who has our back, and some
Yeah.
of us have to push ourselves in one way or another. I think
Right.
I focus on reviewing bills. You focus on checking the numbers every other time. We are grateful for doing that. As we close, I want
Mm-hmm.
you to speak on one thing. Why is it that counties are raising so little revenue and we are giving them liberty
Mm-hmm.
to select however they are spending their money, and
Yeah.
we are just okay with that as a country?
Honestly, the only way to respond to that honestly is to tell you that um, and I'm looking for a way to say it in a way that is not
Mm.
that is not considered derogatory. So we are just not we didn't have a serious analysis when it comes to our structure of government.
True.
If we had had a serious discussion around the structure
Mm.
of government, we will have spent a lot of time talking about one, how big a government we can sustain,
Mm.
right? Because again, if the goal is serve people, and I'm in that table where this discussion that I had, I would say,
Mm.
let's look at how much our country is able to raise its revenue,
Yes.
and then I'm going to be asking people, you want us to have 47 counties, and you want LAM to have 19 MCAs.
Yes.
I want you to tell me how much do you think we're going to dedicate to that as a county?
Yeah.
Lamu, if we want to send 10 billion to Lamu,
Mm.
I'm going to be asking, why do we need to have 19 MCAs there,
Yes.
right? If that county can only raise 1% of its budget,
Mm.
and we cannot tell them
Mm.
to spend 4 billion as opposed to 6 billion,
Yes.
then this structure is not gonna work. The point I'm making is this: we copied a system of government without asking whether or not it can work in our
If
in our
it's
in our country,
visible.
without asking why is it that the U.S. Has 50 states. Why do they have politicians? This county has an economy that is 2.4 trillion. This economy, the economy of Texas will be a top 10 economy in the world if Texas
A
was
country.
a country on its own. So they need people to debate economic policy,
Yes.
tax policy, environmental policy.
Yes.
When these guys are in the House and the Senate, there are things to do.
Yes.
That's what they need politicians.
Yes.
You go to West Pokot and Samburu and Lamu and Tarakaniti and Kiambu, and you tell me what is happening in these countries that's creating value. There's nothing.
Why?
So we just took a system, we copy and paste, and we didn't even understand the economics of it, and we are paying the price for
I
that.
agree. I agree. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add before I close?
No, I would just tell Kenyans that the people that are going to fix this mess is us.
That is true.
I spend a lot of time bringing to you this information. I don't do it because I want people to just be angry. I want people to be angry about what's happening, but also discuss ways to fix it.
To
And I want us
fix
to
it.
get in the business of solving problems. So we need to do much more than just complaining. And so if you are Kenyan who thinks you can bring change by maybe offering yourself up for leadership, I want you to really consider that, because this is going to change when we have different people in government that are making decisions about some of these things in a way that does not destroy value and resources and lives. Thank
I
you.
agree. I agree. Thank you so much, Bonnie. And to everyone who is watching us, we've started from the point of saying there's a budget allocated to a county. and they take a significant portion of it to spend on themselves, on the county official. That is as high as 63% and an average of 47%. If that happens, and then in addition to that, they take a significant portion of money they spend on themselves through travel and some funny training. If that happens, it means very little money is left for the public. What happens in that case? The county is not able to pay people who are delivering services, meaning people in the county are not employed. You will not expect unemployment rate to reduce if a significant portion is spent on the county officials and they are not able to spend any money on service providers or suppliers. In addition to that, if that money is being spent on themselves and people are not being employed by the county through different ventures, then it means the poverty rate is going to increase. At that point, it is fair enough to ask, remaining unchecked, if nothing changes, is devolution serving the purpose it was intended for? And at this point, I think all of us can resolutely say, no, it is not. So again, we can point fingers and say, yes, they're doing something wrong. Yes, there is something wrong with them. I agree with that fully. But I was having a conversation with someone yesterday and they asked me, you elect a thief. Did you think they were going to do anything any different? Did you think that is the last stealing they were going to do? You elect someone who has shown they are greedy. Year in unasikia sijui Kenya Pipeline, sijui unasikia alikuwa Ministry of Agriculture aliiba nini, sijui unasikia alikuwa wapi akafanya nini. That kind of greed. You elect someone who is greedy and then you think they will not spend 60% as salary on themselves. They will not take 18 billion to State House for themselves. You elected a greedy person and for some miraculous reason, you think they are coming now and they are going to do whatever is right according to what is in the law. You elect someone who kills another person. Bungoma, I am looking at you. You elect someone who killed another person. And then utafikiria huyu ni mtu wa mwisho ameua. Yeah. Then utafikiria atakuja, ata-obey what the law is saying that is only spend 35%, you have to spend 30% on. Do you think someone who can kill is able to obey the law on smaller issues? We are our problems. We are the cause of our problems. And if we do not change our voting patterns, if we do not, now that you're aware, it's not Bonnie and I who are doing this thing alone. There are many people who are taking on different ventures. They're telling you different things. They're telling you what is wrong with the government. Enough information out here to know these people do not mean well for us. And you're going to have an opportunity in 2027 to make a difference. If you're not going to actually vote differently and look at Bonnie and say, oh, I have seen he's worked in this company, he's done well. I have seen he's able to punch numbers. I have seen he's able to manage this or that venture. I have seen his record, he's never killed anyone. If those are not the factors you're going to consider, but you're going to consider someone who is going to give you 200, 500, but they are a murderer, they are a thief, they are greedy, mtu asirudi hapa anapiga kelele tena. And then finally, for Senate, for me, I feel like there are some things which are hanging low. 35% compliance. Why is it that year in, year out, we are having this non-compliance in terms of expenditure on salaries, and there is nothing being done about it? I understand you have limited powers, but I have never heard your voice coming out loudly on this issue. I think your voice ought to be as loud. I think if you speak more on this and we add our voice on it and other people add their voices on it, probably something will change along the way. So I am requesting Senate and the EACC and salaries and remuneration and the control of budget. It's a combined effort. Please do something about this 35% and the expenditure on travels and trips that are not important at all. Even if they are important, we ought to look at the costs and the benefit to the people. So thank you so much. Sorry for laughing. I mean, it was funny. Even you guys, you will laugh. It was funny when Bonnie was pointing out those expenditure on training. Sorry for laughing about that. It doesn't mean I do not care. But I mean, they just reduce everything to a joke, and we cannot afford to continue having them. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And we promise to be a bit more consistent, not a bit more consistent. We promise to be more consistent, and we are appreciative of your support. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.